Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Rippily Show. How's everybody doing today? Let me hear from the studio audience really quick. How's everybody this morning, this afternoon? Woo! All right, everybody. So before we go anywhere today, I just want to say a big thank you again to everybody that's joining us, whether you are over on YouTube, whether you are live in our studio audience here or over in our live gallery as well. We just appreciate you being here with us for another episode today. I don't know about you, but I feel like every single week it just keeps getting more and more exciting because we are getting closer and closer to the official launch of the Rippily platform. And you can feel, I can feel it in the air. I think everybody's starting to feel it in the air a little bit. You can feel the energy shifting. You can really feel some of our ripples and waves coming alive. And you can feel people not just watching anymore, but actually stepping in and building something amazing. And honestly, we're having a lot of fun doing it. Between this show and the Rippily Dive on Saturdays, we're not just talking about what's possible anymore. We're actually doing it. We are testing, experimenting, playing, learning, sometimes breaking things here and there. I mean, what's a party without breaking something, I guess, and then figuring it out together. So that's what makes this so different. Now, with all of this happening, I do want to anchor something really important for everyone here today. If you are bringing people into Rippily, if you're telling people about it, if you're like, you have to see this thing I've been talking about, make sure, especially for those people who are in the beta program here in Rippily, that you're pointing them towards the Rippily Central wave inside Rippily, because that is where people are going to get the most accurate, up-to-date information that we offer here on the platform. Things are evolving very quickly right now. Features are changing, improving, expanding, and Rippily Central is becoming that real home base where people can land and actually understand what's going on Rippily. And coming very soon, super excited, we're going to have a dedicated Ripple where you will be able to access past episodes of the Rippily Show and the Rippily Dive, all of the assets that you need for those things. And so everything that we have been building, teaching, and exploring is going to be easy to revisit and share, which is huge. So if you are thinking, I want people to get this, I want them to see what I'm seeing, start there. Bring people over to Rippily Central. So without further ado, we have a great show today. We're going to be spending the month of April talking about design principles when we're building virtual spaces. And today's episode, we're going to focus on the importance of the user experience. So who better to bring into the show, of course, than our beloved creator of Rippily, Claudio Perrone, is here today, everybody. Welcome, Claudio.
Hey. Hello, who better? There's a lot of people who are
I
better.
mean,
But I'll give it a go.
well, you and I've had a lot of conversations about user experience, and
Yeah.
I feel like that's one thing that is important to you from the developer side of things. Like, what is the experience that people are having when they come into Rippily? But I'm not convinced that with all the experiences that I've had on different platforms, that every developer is as worried about user experience that I've seen you be worried about it. So what are your initial thoughts about this topic, Claudio?
So, yeah, as you said, user experience is something that is absolutely crucial to everything I do. Basically,
Mm.
everything starts from there. But I think, there is definitely an approach on actually saying before writing any feature, right? I would start thinking about what problems are people facing, and
Mhm.
based on that, I would do like a lot of research on how other platforms would do something, and then you know basically have an educated choice from then on to say, well, let's use that one, but let's adapt it to the context of what we have. However, this is kind of the kind of the platform sort of developer, right? But the thing, what I have in mind is basically this: there are four kinds of users, really, when you talk about the user experience. There is the participant who joins the room. There is the host who is hosting the event. There is, who else is there? Well, there is obviously the creator of a ripple, right? Who is
Right.
also takes a really big impact in the overall user experience. And finally, there's me, right? So I serve a number of people.
Mm.
You also need to realize that each of the people who are involved in Rippily, who own a community, who have a community, who participate, they all have some stake into the final experience than the people have. So you need to keep in account, you need to serve the needs of who you're serving, basically. And in my case, I have basically three customers, right? The more direct one is whoever is building rooms, I guess. But then you have the host as well. A room by itself means nothing, right? You still
Right.
need to host these events, and then the host themselves need to serve the needs of the participants. So that's
Right.
the first thing I have in mind, like right away when we talk about user experience. What user are we talking about, right?
Right.
Do you have something in mind from that point of view?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I would love to know, like, if you were to take your developer hat off, like, just take it, pretend like you're not a developer. I know it's hard.
Yeah,
Pretend like you're not a
possible.
developer. Okay. So when you yourself are part of a community or a platform, what are the most important things to you as you're entering a space or a platform? Like, what are the things that you tend to notice first as the user?
So so here's the thing. Let me just step back for a second,
Yeah.
right? It's more like to say, as a participant, you enter a space, right? And the very first thing is you need to orient yourself. Is it safe to begin
Mm,
with? What is it telling me? There's a number of things. Is it okay to keep cameras on or off, for example? Maybe I don't want to interrupt. And, are you safe in that environment anyways? Or are you forced to do a certain kind of actions?
mhm.
But the other thing is, like, as a host as well, and also as a, maybe if I go back to the creator, right? Since we've been, I had a community, I still have a community, I guess, but I've been creating spaces as well. And one of the things that you need to look into is this, maybe you mentioned that before, is intentional design, right? What is this room for, right? You could have like rooms for, I don't know, meditation, storytelling, collaboration. What else do we have? Well, actually, conversion. We had a discussion just a few days ago where someone was saying, I think it was Artemis actually, she was saying, is it clear when someone enters my room what I'm all about? Right. So in a way, that's more for conversion, right? Maybe you have a business or a way to, and 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 I remember, like, in my uh, previous days, months, years of working with and be a leads venture builder for a top startup accelerator, like corporate accelerator, that we used to do what is called the goldfish test. And the idea there was to present a landing page to someone, like literally you open the laptop for 5 seconds, you tell them in advance, right? I'm going to show you a landing page, right, about my service, and I'm going to close it after 5 seconds. At the end of that, I'm going to ask you, what did you understand of what I'm doing? And I've done it a billion times. I've done it with, people, maybe in a large corporation, we would go like to the floor downstairs. Maybe we would have spent like hours trying to design the perfect page. And then we're all happy. We go there, we do the goldfish test, the 5-second test, and we come back and we say, that's not clear enough, right? And I've done it in coffee shops with friendly strangers, where you show something and you say, what do you understand of what I'm doing? So the thing is, like, maybe we need to think in a way to what kind of impression we give to participants with our own rooms, right? And maybe the extreme is that room is like a landing page. I want to position myself in a certain way, and I want to make sure that people really have a really good impression out of that, right? So what's the value of this is that we can have a lot of theories of what makes like a great design, right? But the reality is it's when you observe people's behavior and you ask maybe right at the moment that you get like real insights, I guess. So again, intentional design. I don't have really like some rule of thumbs even on actually say what makes for a great room. For example, I feel the Rippily Show room, this room here, like is absolutely great for what is designed to do. The intention is super clear. You come here, you say, okay, this is a show. This actually is going to be a great show, no matter who the guest is. Sorry, it's me. And right now, you know, but then there are other rooms that have an immediate impact in your perception, and I think we need to design our rooms with those intention, because I think the first instinct with all the power that Rippily gives, right? We have a lot of interactivity. We can upload all the images we want. We can add videos. So the first instinct is, I have all these tools. I need to use them all. And I would invite a bit of restraint and actually say, what is this room about? And what are you trying to accomplish out of this? And then based on that, then you design what you need.
Right. I think that some of the design conversation has to shift a little bit on Rippily, and I'll say why. Because some of us are coming from different platforms where it could have been other platforms that are similar in that we're face to face. We can kind of create a virtual space. I've been on several of those platforms, and but the difference for me is that the discoverability piece was not there on other platforms. And so what we've experienced here on Rippily so far is more people just coming into the space that maybe don't know why they're there. Maybe they don't know you really well. And so it is that situation where, very similar to a website, you might have a stranger, somebody new to you, find it. What is it telling them in those first few seconds that they arrive? And so we've been in the middle in our community of a big kind of overhaul of looking at each of my hosts' office spaces and saying, okay, what are people seeing when they first come in here? What if they don't know who you are and you're not even here to explain it to them? What are they seeing? What's that experience? And so it's a little bit of a shift, because you're not always going to be there necessarily when somebody pops in to explain, oh, this is what this space is. This is who I am.
Yeah, and we are actually just scratching the surface. I think Peggy, actually, right, as an organizer for the Global Business Plaza, kind of led us in a way to pioneering a bit that direction, right? When you have like an expo which is 12 hours long, you're not expected. I know there's people who really do it all the time. That's fine. But when it's at 2 a.m. in the morning, I'm not going to be there. Like, I'm going to tell you right away, right? And so now you're going to design a room that not only is designed to, to maybe to entertain or to talk, to chat, to have a conversation, but also has to have a sort of self-direct experience, I think, right? And so, in a way, like even participating to something like the expo forces you maybe to think in those directions, right? Which is not a bad thing. Which is why I always suggest people who haven't tried it yet, like, to become an exhibitor, because it forces you to make those choices, and actually, right, I don't know, makes you more acute to what others are doing.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes it takes, doing an event like that, or even just doing anything in your space, hosting other people coming in, to go, well, that didn't work. at that time. So
Yeah.
we need to maybe do something a little bit different. I think it's important to kind of, even if you think you know how you want to have it set up, to do sort of a reevaluation once you have people coming in and out and going, okay, what's working here and what's not working here, and asking for feedback, where it's appropriate to do that.
Which leads me, I guess, to the topic of continuous experimentation, which is something I do all the time. Is no matter how sure you think things are going to work, run it as a little safe to fail experiments. Look for feedback. Based on that, you modify, because you don't know it all, right? You need to be humble. One thing definitely I learned, like being in this kind of accelerators, is no matter what the experience is, you're bound to be surprised, because
Right.
you're not in control of the market out there, right? You don't know the causes. You just know how the market responds to certain things. So you
Right.
run a lot of experiments. That's what you need to learn. And
Yeah. I think, even some of the bigger things that we're doing here at Ripley, like the show, like the dive, it's all an experience. It's all an experiment, because I was thinking about this, when we talked about doing the show originally, thinking back to, I wanted to do something like this last year, but where I was doing it at was not going to work out for the thing, so I just dropped it. I said, forget it. And so when you're doing something that is new and different, it is always a challenge to go, okay, well, we don't know what this exactly is going to be yet, so we just are going to try. And I've already had to, this is our I think fourth episode, and so we're having to evaluate every week what's working, what's not working, what do we need to shift around a little bit. And that's, if we can just go to what you're saying, like this is all one giant experiment, we can be a little less stressed out about the process of like, oh, it didn't work, got to try something else this time.
yeah, I mean, it's one giant experiment, but actually is a series of really small experiments. That's the
Mm,
idea, right? It's not, the overall thing will converge to success no matter
right.
what. That's my experience.
Yeah.
But it converges based on what you learn, experiment by experiment.
Right. Right. Certain things have had to shift over time. Even I was so proud. I was so proud of my application that I did to be in this show audience. And then I realized I forgot to click one button, which ruined the entire thing. So I had to go back and redo it. But I feel really thankful that the majority of people that we are in this beta experiment with together, that we're all sort of understanding of, we'll just try again. We'll just try it
Yeah,
again.
I mean, if there is one thing I learned by running experiments, is that you learn to become very forgiving of
Right.
yourself.
Right.
Whatever you do, uh, you
Yeah.
know, typically, like the idea there is, if you haven't done anything, you haven't broke anything, right? So if you want to be
Right.
sure that you don't break anything, don't do anything.
There you go.
And where are you going?
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
so that's the idea.
We're going to continue with this conversation here in a little bit, but I know that you've had a lot that you've been working on behind the scenes. And so I wanted to give a couple little updates about some of the stuff that you've been working on. Do you want to share with us? I'll switch us to share mode here.
Yeah. Well, okay. So my compiler just finished, so it may break. Just talking about, having no fear whatsoever. But let me share just two things to begin with. Something I'm working on and something that I deployed very recently. Okay, before you look at this, you say, today's streak, is he not using Rippily? This is my development machine. Okay, so just to be clear, I just put it here. This is my live machine. And of course, I have God powers. If you want me, I will show you like 60,000 as a streak. Okay, so it doesn't matter. Having said that, one thing that you might have seen already, for example, is this happening right now. Right. So right now the ZOS and is definitely different from what we used to do before, right? Before there were white cards, you could only see uh, like 4 or 5 avatars, right? And now we can see, basically you can see up to 25 avatars, and then is a plus. Now, and you have obviously the, you know, the border in there. And you would say, well, okay, it's definitely nicer, good thing. But you know, when we talk about user experience, you know how this happened. We were just talking the other day about someone who said, would it be possible to see who is inside? Yeah, I mean, there are some performance optimizations that I would have to do, but why? Right? Why is not sufficient just to see it as an event? Well, because in my community, but I'm sure in other communities as well, there's, you know, a few people who don't like each other. Let's put it in this way, right? So they don't like each other. People are people, communities are communities. You have the good and the bad. So the problem is, if that person is in there, I don't want to be there, right? Okay, that's an interesting thing. So what I ended up doing was to say, I'm going to put a limit to 25. Yeah, because you could have a room with like 200 people. So how do you deal with this? Well, the thing is, right, you may not want to be, it's a matter of safety here. You may not want to be in the same room if in the room there's maybe 5 people. So it's a really close, tight knit experience. But if we have like 25 or more people, doesn't really matter, does it? Right? So again, you need to interpret what the request or the need is. Not even it wasn't even put as a request. I mean, it was a request, but not something short term. But it was something that says, well, this is not just something that looks better. It's actually something that has an important usage for it, right? There's a very specific job to be done that this resolves. And so as a consequence, I guess right now everybody's at the show, and there's more people, but there's some algorithm that says whatever is visible becomes visible if number of people are in the room and the room is visible. There's
Right.
there's a lot of visibility rules around this. But anyways, I just wanted to show this as the discovery cards, basically. The other part that people are definitely aware of, hopefully, is the policies, right? So now we have like new policies that, once again, basically you join a community, you have the Rippily policies that you're going to agree upon on
Hmm.
join. But the way those policies are written is that basically they're an initial safety net for any community. Okay, it's a baseline of policies which you need to abide anyways. But then on top of that, you have the possibility to create your own policies, to click to and link to maybe your own legal page. So basically, again, is a way to actually say not only I'm doing my legal um, necessities, right, to cover myself, but actually I'm trying to do something to cover as many people as possible by default. Now, of course, if you add extra elements, some widgets, some AI stuff or whatever, maybe you may need to add extra information in there to notify your users, but otherwise, that's something like that. Now, finally, the other thing is work in progress, and I'm going to show you. It might break because, again, as I said before, it's in the development machine, but we have this concept, two concepts here. One is the concept of what I call bubbles, which right now are not surfaced. They are here, basically, right? So here, the idea there is that we can have a ripple, which is sorry, we can have a wave, which is basically a community that contains ripples or rooms. Like in this case, we have 2 rooms, but also we have these access groups. Okay. I call them in code, they're called bubbles. I didn't know if to introduce a new term, but basically it's an access group. And talking to Jamie Rich, he kind of liked, for example, the idea of bubble as a way to protect, not so much to control, but to protect, right? And the idea there is that we are protecting, controlling access on how you can if and how you can access a particular ripple, a particular room. So here I can create a new premium And I'm using terminology like this. I can, by default, you have core. Let me double click here. This is going to be free, for example. And so, and now what we have is something like this one. I can go here, add this one to the premium one, for example. This is going to be on the free one. And let me show you how this translates on the page. On the page, now we have free and premium, or all. And you see free, premium, and we can obviously have, maybe premium also has access to different other waves, so they can be shared among each other. So it's a way to control access within a wave, right? And the has been, and it still is, like a lot of work, because as we are introducing, going live basically with this, we have more limited resources, right? As beta
Right.
users right now, we have access to absolutely everything. I started actually limiting how many things we can create, but within those limits, there was more necessity for a little bit more um, flexibility on how to set up the waves. Now,
Mm.
it turns out this leads to the next problem. I mean, there's a couple of next problems, right? One down the line is actually to say, I call them free and premium. Can I actually charge my own participants to my own community, right? Maybe I can allow people to join my community and they can access free ripples. But then I can move them to a different bubble, basically, as long as they pay, or maybe, as long as I want to, I can move them to that. And so you can have this kind of control access, and this is a step that leads towards that direction. Okay, it's not yet like the Stripe account set up and everything, but basically is everything that is needed to set that up. Yeah, the idea
Yeah.
is to make it absolutely fully integrated and easy to deal with. But here's the other thing, right? So we are now in a transition, or at least I feel I'm in a transition. I'm building a lot of features, and there
Yeah.
is like a huge problem. And the huge problem is what happens with my 120 waves and ripples and, whatever. And, you need to choose basically a tier, but how are you going to do it? Now,
Right.
I'm putting for myself this date here. Don't take it as official, because until I go live, I need to really give you enough time, I guess, to play with these things. But here's the idea. The idea here is that there is going to be, when I publish it, basically an official date. Everybody will see it. Obviously, I will send an email as well. But subscribe to keep your content active. And here you can see the plans, right? Plans are things that you would see. Let me see. Let me go to account, for example. So here we have like different plans for, the especially for the founders. But let me just go here back. So what happens? Here's the question, right? What plan should I choose based on the content that I have, or how would I move the content to adapt to this? Now, I could say on April 16, you're on your own. Boom. Everything is frozen. Basically, in fact, I'm going to delete everything. No, I'm not going to delete anything at all. I'm going to freeze stuff. But even before I freeze stuff, I want to give you the opportunity to understand what's going to happen before it happens. Okay. So, how do we do that? Well, we do it this way. I can select free preview tier, right? Hopefully this will work. Okay, so now previewing the free plan. I only have one wave, so it's 101. I'm clicking on this. Let me see. And this one is paused because I only have one ripple for the free account, right? You can create one
Right.
ripple. And you prefer to keep this one. I think for now that's the case. Is basically is just in order. So you can move this one, and it doesn't work right now, but it will. It will freeze this one and unfreeze this one. Okay.
Mm.
In fact, I'm pretty sure that if we refresh, no, it doesn't work. But basically the idea there is whatever is in first position. I may do even something more clever, but I don't
Right.
want to keep pushing, right? Pushing the deadline.
I
But
think
the
it's a
idea
good
there is,
idea though for people to be able to see what they have versus what they could have, or if they change because it does, even though a lot of us are on different platforms where we might see a lot of people do those checklists, right, where you have the smallest plan and then more checks appear as the plans go up. It we don't
yeah.
always visually see it, and I think this will help people be able to
I
visually
mean,
see it.
the thing is, like in many platforms, I mean, this is not the problem for new users, right? A new user will basically see ripple limits reached, and maybe you have like a let's call it like an upsell, right? It will give you an
Hmm.
indication, or you may want to go to the next plan. So this is not a problem that most platform have. The problem is that we are in this kind of transition where we have a lot of people who have, for now, in limited access because of the beta, and we are
Right.
transitioning to a different level. So all this kind of freeze and freeze, this is not going to happen for a new user. And also this freeze and freeze is going to stop the minute we go live. Okay, so what my goal is to give you enough time to plan it out, and then instead of delete them, I will just keep them frozen. Then
Right.
it's your opportunity to delete them, or maybe in the future you may want to go to a bigger plan.
Right.
But generally wise, you have the assets in your, usually you have your local assets, so it probably is not a big deal to recreate a room whenever is the right time. But
Right.
that's my plan, at least.
Right. Right. Well, I think this gives people a good first look at what's coming, and there will definitely be more to come about this as our
Yeah.
weeks go on here, both on the Ripley Show and in the Dive on Sundays and or
Wait,
Saturdays.
not
Excuse me.
weeks gone. Hopefully days gone. I have enough of this.
Well, we can only get so much into a 45-minute episode, Claudio,
That
is the
is true.
thing. So
That is true.
there will be more. There will be more for sure. I want to bring on a friend of ours, my fabulous co-host here on the Ripley Show, who does such a great job of hyping up our audience. We're going to bring Miss Peggy McCartha onto the show as we get our community pulse going here. I have a poll for everyone that I am putting in the chat. Peggy, do you want to read everybody what our poll is today?
I do. When you enter a new virtual space, what matters most in the first 30 seconds? And this is something we talk about all the time. So I love that this is the poll today. What is it?
Love it. We have some good options here. I know exactly where to go and what to do. It feels welcoming and comfortable. It looks visually impressive. Someone greets or guides me, or I can explore freely without instructions. What's the one? I know it's hard to pick one sometimes, but what matters most to you?
You know me. I like having a video telling me what to do and then let me go. Let me push buttons. Let me explore.
Love it. Yeah, I think that would be it for me. I know exactly where to go and what to do. Like whether that's through someone greeting me or there's clear
Right.
instructions there, or a good signpost. Claudio uses the term breadcrumbs, to lead us
Yeah.
to different places, right? And so it could be different things, but I think I need to know where to go and what to do. That would be mine. Out of those options, what would be your number one pick, Claudio?
I can explore freely without instruction. That's what I
Mm,
put. I actually, funny enough, right? I saw very recently, just 2, 3 days ago, someone who is not familiar with Ripley at all, and who basically inserted an image without using a background, but then stretched it like as a full
mm.
background, right? And then was trying to, and had the media zone. Media zones go at the very bottom, and so it was behind that image. So you start sharing, it was invisible, right? And that really made me think, sugar. Well, I said something else, but sugar. We need some form of onboarding, right? And you start doing research, which is what I do, right? I said, well, how do other applications, 15 to 20 top tier applications. How do they do the onboarding? That are, we're talking about, I don't know, Figma, Miro, all these kind of visual platforms. And the consensus is basically that you do not create tours, as in, when you start an application. I used another application today, Lumacal, right? And it's got a lot of tours where you have like you enter an area and you have pop-up number 1,
Yes.
pop-up number 2, pop-up number, and it's annoying because you are there to discover, you're going to get interrupted all the time. So apparently research says that 73% of people drop at the third pop-up.
Hmm.
I don't think I make it to 3. I get so annoyed by those. I'm
Right.
like, I know what
but
this is. I
Yeah.
didn't ask.
I know.
It's pretty you see, it's pretty common, and I knew about this. That's why I had opinions about this. However, it does not solve my problem.
Right.
If a lot of people who don't come to our show today, or don't come to the Rippily Dive, or are simply new, right, and they just join, how are we going to address some of those, basic issues, I guess?
Right. All right, Peggy, we have a poll results. What is our results of
let me get back over to the
poll?
chats, because I am looking at stuff. Okay, so the number 1 is it feels welcoming, and I have it in a weird position here. I can't
comfortable. It feels welcoming
and comfortable. I like that.
Thank you.
I think it's important to feel welcoming and comfortable, but I also really think it's important that people know what you do. Like, because you can feel welcome and comfortable and still leave that room and never want to contact the person or work with them, or, so I do like feeling comfortable. I really do. But that would not have been my number 1 choice, because I'm always on strategizing how to make people money.
There it is. Well, I think some of it ties together too, Peggy, because I know one of the ways that I feel welcomed and comfortable is if I know where to go and what to do, is if someone greets me, is if I can explore without instructions. There's a lot of these things that I think tie together too. So like part 2 of the question could be, what is it exactly that makes you feel welcome and comfortable?
Right. And Luana made a really good point. If I don't feel welcome and comfortable, I'm not coming back.
There it is.
I'm not going to stay long enough to figure out what you do. So yeah, right. I think it's all that one cord that's all woven throughout the entire thing, for sure.
Absolutely.
I find it interesting that someone greets you or guides you, got 0 votes, right? Maybe because it feels like, when you enter a shop and everybody's on you.
Can I help you? Can I help you? Can I help you?
Yeah, I'm just browsing. So there is that. But we only got 1 vote for it looks visually impressive. That actually, to me, is even more interesting, because as a builder myself, I would spend a stupid amount of time to actually make things visually impressive. Yeah. And obviously, they're all good. Like, it's not that, you can... But it's funny because it doesn't reflect the amount of investment that I guess I make when I build a room.
Right.
Well, I mean, let's make it impressive.
It makes a point that I was making about something else recently, about how, if an event is about the people, if it's about, the experience or whatever, or the business or whatever, then we need to be less worried about perhaps building something out that has 50 scenes and all these other things. And so it's always good, I think, as we're thinking about user experience, to go, what is the point of this space, and what do we want the result to be for the user, and then how would they most enjoy that experience. We have another special guest here today that I want to make sure that we bring on before we run out of time. She is the powerhouse behind C3 Global, behind the most innovative processes that we are experiencing in the world of AI and more. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Charity Campbell-Kapela.
Let me
Welcome, Dr. CK.
I'm going to that bit of audio and I'm going to put it everywhere. Literally, when I walk into a room, I'm just going to click play.
As you should. As you should.
That's what's going to happen. Hey, everybody. Happy Tuesday.
Welcome. Welcome. It's
Tuesday.
so good to see you.
It's good to be seen and to see all of you as well.
What are some of your thoughts about our topic today, Dr. CK? We've been talking all about the importance of building for the user experience.
Yeah, I've made the mistake of building for my own experience and then wondered why nobody stayed in the rooms, why nobody was just like, this is fire. Why y'all not here? Because it's not them. It's not for them. But when I started actually listening to the feedback of the people who I wanted to be in my place. See, that's a difference. Okay. So y'all who know me, you know, I'm a straight shooter. I'm a sharp shooter. I'm gonna tell you like it is. There are some people who come into their space and they give a ton of feedback and it's a bit negative and you just know that they're not your people anyway. Just say, thank you so much for your opinion. I respect your perspective. That's it. But I build for the people who I know show up. I build for the people who want to be in the space. And most importantly, I try to think about what would benefit them most. You know, what would make them come into a space and be like, oh, this feels like home. You know, even though it's virtually, this feels like home, or this feels like, you know, family. It feels like community. And so, yeah, that's what I usually do when I come to build.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that that's an interesting part of this conversation too, that as we are, you know, testing out the spaces that we're building, to make sure that we're asking for feedback from the people that would use those spaces. People that are not going to use the spaces, they might have a great opinion, but are they ultimately who you're trying to please in the process? You are an incredible visual designer of these virtual spaces. Can we see something? Do you have something pulled up that we can see? I'm gonna switch this over.
Do you want to see? Do you all want to see?
Yes,
if you want to see, type a 1 in the chat.
Yeah.
Let me see. Type a 1 in the chat if you want to see. I'm just saying. Now I know Claudio is like, yeah, let me see so I can.
I want to see. I'm pushing the button.
I'm
pushing the button. That's what I'm.
I got hearts. I got hearts.
I put 100.
You put 100. Okay. So I'm gonna share something new and different with you. Something that, you know, and it's when I say it's new and different, I really mean that. This is called the Diversity and Inclusion Lounge. It's Diversity and Equity, Inclusion Lounge. So that's why you see, you know, different faces, indigenous faces and things in the actual room. And this is for a prospective client. Their company is called Diversity Beans. And they're all about these little jelly beans that look one way on the outside, but when you bite into it, it's a completely different flavor, like something you would not have expected.
Oh, wow.
And their messaging is sick. Like, Peggy, you would love it. Their messaging is just absolutely crazy. And so I'm like, what would be amazing? And I got my little jelly bean seats and things. I'm just trying to make sure that I have them perfect, Claudio, because you know how I am when it comes to designing the little seats. So I'm like, I didn't find the right jelly bean texture yet for the seat. So I'm still working on that. But when they come into the space, one, I want them to feel like it's on brand. I want them to first acknowledge like, oh yeah, this feels like Diversity Beans. This feels like, you know, the message. It feels like the purpose. But then also too, I created a little like assessment and I embedded it at the bottom of the room. Okay. I think it's going to get good here, Claudio. So what I want to say about Rippily, first of all, is that the embed is just, can I say this word? It is so sexy. Can I say that word?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. The embed. Look how flawlessly it just comes straight in there. Yeah. So then, and I love this because the client can have different diversity workshops, and they're at the top, they're talking, discussing, sharing, and then the client can say, okay, so let's talk about implicit bias. Let's talk about assumptions. And I have a little assessment. It won't take long. I just want you to scroll down to the bottom, click begin assessments, and answer these questions. Okay. I'm not going to go over all of them, but I do want to go over the first one because I want to hear everyone's take on it. Okay. So you're hiring a pastry chef. 2 candidates have identical resumes. One arrives in a flour dusted apron, just flour all over the place. And then the other wears a sharp blazer. Now, who do you invite back for a tasting? If you say the flour dusted apron, type 1 in the chat. If you say the sharp blazer, type 2. And if you say, I don't know, type 3. Let's see what you say. Now I'm gonna ask Claudio. Claudio,
I don't know what the blazer is. Exactly. I don't know what.
Like a suit. Like a suit.
Yeah, like a suit coat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So which would you invite back?
There's only one answer that you can choose as an Italian, Claudio. You hear me?
He knows his answer. His answer.
I'm sure the political correct, given even the situation, isn't it the last one?
Okay. So, and I saw in the chat, Sade say, I need more information before deciding.
Yeah,
okay, so we're gonna go with that, right? Some people though would say the one in the apron, because clearly they just left from baking. They know what's going on. Not even thinking like this could be an old dirty apron that they just dug out of somewhere and was like, oh, let me throw some more flour, put it on, and look the part, right? So we have all of this, need more information, and then it tells you a little bit more about the assumption, right? There are some people who they choose the flour dusted because, they think that looking the part equates to competence.
Ooh.
You're getting it, right? So so this whole thing, like they go through the whole thing. I'm just going to click, right? This one's talking about names. Somebody's name is James Carter. The other person's name is Jamal Carter. Who you calling back? Well, we know Jamal is probably a brother. Okay. He probably one of my people. Are you calling Jamal or are you calling James? All of these implicit biases. So you have this in this, very well branded room, very beautifully branded room in Ripley. And so they're going and they're taking this assessment. They're getting all of their answers. And then once they get to the, now this is situational. Once they get to the results, there's also like a lead magnet type of thing where it says, okay, your results are ready. Where should we send them? So they can type in the email address if they're already not a part of, the client's email list, or a part of like their usual communications. If they are, they can just click skip for now. And then jelly beans falling from the sky, because why not?
That's it.
Jelly beans falling from the sky. Of course there are. I got bubbles in the studio.
I love it.
Jelly beans falling from the sky. And it tells them your bias awareness level revealed, and it gives a breakdown. Go ahead, Peggy.
This is a good example of, just because you can, should you? And this is definitely this is a way to use all of the tools in a way that's not flashy, but in a way that is impactful. And
it makes sense for the space.
And it makes sense. Yeah. And, and I'm always saying, like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Exactly. What is your why? What is the impact that it has? And this is impactful, and this is beautiful. Yeah.
I want to, I love it, right? I absolutely love it. But I want to also kind of point to the idea, right? So this is one thing I learned about innovation. Luana says, I don't trust suits. Okay.
I just wanted to say I had to mute myself because I loved that comment from her. Right. I was laughing.
And I say, I don't trust surveys. I trust behavior.
That's good.
So this is what I learned in innovation, right? That people say, and they create all these castles. Yeah, like in this situation, I would need more information and whatever. But exactly because it's
Mhm.
these are biases that are hidden to you. You are not making that conscious decision, right? And so the idea there is if you actually bring Jamal and someone else, and you actually need to make that decision, what are you going to choose? That's the challenging part that I learned in innovation, basically, to sometimes to create fake pages to actually see what people actually click. Because if I
Yes.
say, do you like my shirt? Oh yeah, it's lovely, Claudia, whatever. Well, I'm going to sell it to you for $5. Would you buy it? Maybe not, right? So you know what I mean? There is a difference between what people state and what people actually do.
Behavior.
But at the same
Absolutely.
time, you can still, this to me, like, I love this, but at the same time, I'm kind of thinking, what kind of behaviors could we bake into Rippily, for example, in some rooms where actually people do some actions that we can observe? What kind of little experiments can you do, right? Because it's highly interactive. You can do a lot of stuff. So that's something, food for thought.
Yeah.
I like it. That could be another scene. Is that okay? This is what you said. Now let's see what you actually do. Let's see what that looks like
without telling them that you're observing them.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I like that.
You could literally create situations and scenarios like a storytelling thing, right? To see what are they actually clicking, right? You have 4 people, you don't describe them, they all say maybe different things. Which one are they doing? And then you move on.
I love that.
Amazing.
I'm going back to the replay and stealing that. Thank you, Claudio. Appreciate you.
Let's go. Let's take one more look. If you can scroll back up there, CK, at the top of we just want to take one more peek at this beautiful space. Because
I
it's
want to
always
show you the breakouts.
Oh yes, let's see that. Let's see that.
Let's show the breakouts just real quick. Branded breakouts.
Oh,
so let me just tell you.
Goodness.
Let me just tell you, I cannot take any credit for the way this is laid out. One of the things that I love about this particular community, which is what Rippily has become for so many of us, is that you see something and you're like, whoa, light bulb pops on. And it's like, okay, how could I do that? And make it a part of what I do. I got this idea from Peggy. Let me tell y'all, I may stalk Peggy's spaces sometimes. Okay. Peggy and Jessica.
Maybe.
I'm just gonna say.
Once in a while.
Maybe not. No confession. But I look at these spaces and I'm like, oh my God, this is fire. How could I do that? And so I haven't figured out how to do it for myself yet, Peggy, because there's no specific use case yet. But for the client, though, I was like, after they take this assessment and they're still in this workshop, then they can say, okay, you and a partner are going to discuss your results.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have, and the beautiful thing is Rippily already comes with a timer. You can set a time sequence and say, hey, you're going to get 3 minutes. Everybody's just going to be talking to the person you're in the room with. You hear the clock clicking. You're only talking to the person in that space. You can't see anybody else. You can see them, grayed out a little bit, but you can't hear them. So you're able to focus. And this is so innovative. You're looking and like, oh, wow, everybody's talking and laughing and having fun. It's a beautiful experience. And so then after that's over, and you come back and you say, okay, now let's talk about what you and your partner shared. So that's the whole experience I wanted to share. Okay.
I love it.
I love this room.
I love it.
Can we do spin beans or something like that? We need to do
Speed beans.
Speed beaning.
Speed beaning.
Speed beaning.
Speed beans.
speed beaning.
Who needs
Oh
speed
my God.
networking when you can speed bean?
If you
Yeah.
make any kind of room or Ripple that looks like that, Claudio is going to suggest speed something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, because I think that's just ingrained in Claudio's trajectory. Like that's
I
just
like
what
Well,
you have to.
I
It's
feel that I push Claudio to perfect the zones and the snapshots, being able to
Oh, yeah.
move snapshots just for speed
Yes.
networking. And this is Dr. CK, your images are just gorgeous. Like this,
So
this just makes my heart so proud. This is so
Well,
beautiful.
thank you for the
Absolutely.
idea, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dr. CK, do you want to tell everybody where they can find you and all that good stuff in case we have some folks that are like, I need, jelly beans everywhere?
Yes, you can find me at my actually you can come into any one of my ripples. You can find me sometimes. I may be here in my office. You can come and find me anywhere in the C3 Global HQ that's right there in Rippily. Or you can, and y'all see my little, she's my agent. She will tell you where to
Welcome
go.
to the Lux
Okay?
Lobby at
She'll
C3
let you know
Global.
what's going on. And also you can find me at c3global.co, c3global.co. And 4 days out of the week, you can find me right here in our co-working community. There's Jessica's little pod right there. You see, she earned it, and so did Sang. Okay, there's no favoritism. They earned it. They showed up for 90 days to co-working, and they earned their pod. You have people like Claudio who don't care about the points, but every time they make a change in Rippily, they get points because I see the changes. So you're moving on up, Claudio, even though you haven't
show
been
up
there.
really quick.
Moving
Really
on
quick, you have to show them the water. You have to show them the water.
So we have the hydration station, and when you come to our co-working, you do get points for hydration because we sit for 2 hours. You get points for moving and for refilling, hydrating. There you go. Hydration right there. All thanks to
all
Claudio
have to go
and the
run for
emojis.
a bio break after because
Absolutely, because it sounds like you got to go to the bathroom.
That's it. It's dangerous. It's really dangerous. And I'm very excited because Dr. CK included something amazing in the swag bag for our studio audience today. So those of you that get your swag bag, you want to tell people what you included in there?
Yes, I included an AI readiness audit. So y'all, I've been working nonstop on so many different projects, but this one I think will be helpful. A lot of people want to go ahead and just immediately start implementing AI. They don't know where to start, or they're just like, I'm using it in my business. But are you using it correctly? And so this is a great assessment, completely free. Just go, fill it out and figure out what your readiness level is. So I hope you all have a good experience with it. And please let me know. I welcome feedback on it for sure.
Awesome. We are so excited about that. So all of you that are in the studio audience, make sure you check out your swag bag. Also this month in there, you've got a freebie from Sang D, who will be our guest next week on the show. So very excited about that also. And as we continue this conversation that we've been having, don't forget, we have an amazing thing that happens every Saturday. Take a look. Saturday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. We are going to bring our friends back over here as we finish up today. Look at all the pretty people. Look at the pretty people out there right now. Say hello. And so I want to thank everybody for being here today. Claudio, Peggy, Dr. CK, all of our friends in the studio audience, everybody on the gallery, and all of our friends over on YouTube as well. We are going to continue this conversation about intentional designing of our spaces all throughout the month of April. Any final words from the three of you on the panel today? We'll start with Dr. CK.
I just want to say thank you all for having me. Tuesdays are so busy, but I try to make sure that I get in at least the second half of the Rippily Show. And this has just been amazing. And I hope that it continues to grow. You guys rock. You guys are amazing.
Woo, there it is. All right, Peggy, final words.
I mean, I have to agree. We are amazing. I mean, But not just us, not just the people that you see up here. Us, if you are hearing this, you are amazing. Continue to be creative and continue to grow. And I look forward to seeing you at the expo. So you better hunt me down and find out more information about that.
There it is. There it is. Final words from Claudio.
I don't know what to say. I'm just going to say, be patient. I'm head down trying to finish this stuff, and soon we will have news, hopefully.
Awesome. Sounds great. We are
Oh,
all
but
very
wait, just
excited.
the last thing is, together with coffee as a coder, I'm going to leave right now and just buy some jelly bean.
Yeah.
That's it. That's me.
There it is. You heard it here first, everybody. Okay. Thank
And
you.
what a lovely time of the year to find jelly beans out everywhere as well.
It is. It is very, I mean, it is timely for sure. But I thank you everybody for being a part of the show today. Every week keeps on expanding the ideas, the creativity, the possibilities. And if you've been watching this today and thinking, okay, I'm ready to actually build something. If you are in beta, Saturday is your moment. Join us for the Rippily Dive every Saturday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, because this week we are wrapping up our 3-part series we've been doing on variables, which has been, I think, a fun time. Anybody agree with me that it's been fun to go through the different variables? And all right. And so this is where everything really comes together. I think one of the best ways to learn about the space you're in is to come and be a part of the community and build things together. So if you've been with us through this series, this is the piece that's going to tie it all together. If you're just jumping in, you will walk away with some powerful ideas and tools that you can use here on Rippily immediately. So this is where your spaces stop being static and start becoming interactive, responsive, and alive. So don't miss it. Of course, we'll be right back here next week for another episode of the Rippily Show. As I said, Sang D is going to be here as our special guest. We're very excited about that. We will continue to explore and build and push the edges of what's possible inside of our Rippily spaces. So until then, keep experimenting, keep inviting people in, keep pointing them over to Rippily Central as well, so that they can be a part of things too. And we will see you Saturday and then back here next week as we continue to experience and explore what is possible. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and we will see you again next week, everybody. Bye.